Hi everyone, my name is Sally. I'm the owner and trainer for Disabled Advantage. This video is video 3 in my series Why It Matters for training specific skills if you have a chronic illness and are a dog owner. This particular one is written mainly for service dogs, but it does apply to pets as well. This one is a topic that I'm very passionate about and I don't talk about often enough. I talk about it with every single client I've ever worked with and usually get an aha moment with them, but it is a topic that I see come up as an accessibility aid, and I want to add a flip perspective to that. So today's topic for Why It Matters is training your dog potty breaks on a leash instead of relying on a doggy door. I want to be a little bit more clear on that, as opposed to using a doggy door for your dog's potty breaks, always taking them outside on leash yourself. So always going outside with your dog when they're first learning their training, when they're first learning how to go potty on leash, going out on with them on a 6-foot leash, holding it, having the dog walk around you in a circle while you're sitting or standing, whatever's best for your disability. And once the dog is off leash reliable, or if you do have a fenced in yard, having your dog go potty off leash, but you're still out there supervising them. So no unsupervised potty breaks. Not giving your dog the option of using a doggy door to go out and take care of their business on their own. This might be a controversial topic. I do respect and acknowledge that doggy doors can be a helpful aid if you have a disability, because it takes one less energy chunk out of your day. It makes it easier for you to ensure that your dog has a way to go to the bathroom that is not in your house, and taking care of their needs while also fulfilling your own. So I do very much understand that. However, and this is why I say this post is mainly geared towards service animals, doggy doors have significant downsides that need to be talked about and understood before you immediately jump into them. And one that I'm not going to go into too in depth with is that they are a security risk for your house. Depending on what kind of doggy door you have, other animals could get in, possibly people. It is a weak point in your house. But in my professional opinion, as a service dog trainer and as somebody who has a service dog, I strongly recommend that owners teach their dog how to do potty breaks on leash, and always supervise potty breaks themselves, not just through a window, actually outside with your dog. And here's why that matters. First, if your dog uses a doggy door and goes out to go to the bathroom by themselves, you don't actually know your dog went to the bathroom. A lot of people assume that just because the dog went through the doggy door, that meant the dog for sure went to the bathroom. That is not the case. The dog went through a door. That is all you know. You don't know anything else past that. When you hold on to a leash, so when you take your dog out to go to the bathroom on leash, holding them on a leash helps keep them focused. So a lot of times it's super easy for a dog to, even if they intend to go outside to use the bathroom, they get a smell or they see a bird or they see a squirrel and they get distracted and they forget they need to go to the bathroom. I know this is a thing because I have watched it happen so many times. And I have watched it happen even when my dog is on leash. But when he's on leash, I can give the leash a light pop, remind him, this is what we're focusing on. And having that tool there helps him stay more present and focused on the moment to go to the bathroom and go to the bathroom in a reasonable amount of time, being 10 to 20 minutes. And then we can sniff and wander and look at the other things. Not take 30, 40 an hour to sniff around, get distracted 20 times, and eventually go to the bathroom. So the leash helps keep your dog focused.
The leash also helps prepare your service dog for a critical skill that they will need as a service dog one day, which is the ability to go potty in tight spaces in parking lots. Those little strips of grass or mulch are where your dog is one day going to need to go to the bathroom in between errands so that they don't go potty in stores. And teaching them on leash now teaches them the confidence and the ability to go to the bathroom on a 6-foot leash in a confined space. If you don't take the time to teach that skill at your home where your dog is more comfortable, it can be harder to teach that later on when you're starting to do public access work.
Being with your dog helps ensure that you know if they peed, if they pooped, and whatever they didn't do, so that you know it will be needed later. And this is especially important for two things. One, service dogs who are about to go into a store for training or working. And two, if you plan on putting your dog on a treadmill later. Now, I used to think that dogs had to stop moving to pee or to poop. And to some extent they do, like a little bit. But not as much as we do. And not as much as you'd expect. And I have made the unfortunate mistake of forgetting, mainly, or not doing a potty break before a treadmill run. And I have had dogs pee on the treadmill while trotting. Having dog urine splatter in your room at 2 miles an hour, and then having to clean that up and find all the places the pee went, not fun, especially with a chronic illness. Not fun. Also, they can poop while on a treadmill, and it takes it like a conveyor belt and then drops it at the end. But sometimes, depending on what kind of poop it is, the dog then steps in it, or it sticks to the track. And so your dog is then running on it, and then it circles back around, and then your dog steps in, and then it circles back, and then your dog steps in it again. So that's the fun of treadmills. When you're treadmill training, I recommend putting a puppy pad underneath your treadmill, in addition to all this other stuff. When you supervise your dog, you know if they peed, you know if they pooped, you know what they need later. Hopefully you remember what they need later. Brain fog kind of messes with that a little bit, which is how my dogs have gone to the bathroom on the treadmill. But when we have service dogs, we need to be able to know, yes, they've gone potty, so that if they go potty in a store, we can link it back to nervous or sick. We want to try and limit them going to the bathroom in the store, obviously, because 1, it's unsanitary. 2, it is a violation of them being a service animal and us following the ADA. One of the facets of the ADA is that our dogs be under control and they be housebroken, not being making a mess in stores. So accidents do happen. Accidents will happen while you're training your service dog, but it's better if they don't happen. And so if you have given your dog a chance to go to the bathroom, you've been present with them, you know what they've done, you know you'll need to give them another potty break later in the day to give them a second chance. Maybe they didn't poop in the morning, give them a potty break later in the day. You can expect they probably will poop at that potty break. If you have a lot of errands to run, be sure to fit in a potty break somewhere, because the more your dog walks and moves, the more it moves all of their internal systems, just like us, and stimulates their need to go to the bathroom. But if you've relied on a doggy door, if you have assumed that the dog went to the bathroom but they never did, then you could be more likely in for a surprise if you're walking through a store or your dog's running on a treadmill and you assumed that they went to the bathroom. They didn't. They took the opportunity to smell and explore or lay in the sun, and then they end up going in a store or on the treadmill. The last point for you don't know if your dog actually went or not leads into the second one, so they sort of tie in a little bit. But if you don't know if your dog actually went to the bathroom or not, you have less of a hold of if certain things are not happening. So if your dog is sick and they're not peeing or they're not pooping for days at a time, or they're not if they're sick and you use a doggy door, all you know is they went outside. You don't know that they didn't pee. You don't know that they didn't poop. If you are someone who cleans up the yard, you might notice that, yeah, there aren't very many poop piles. But if you're not someone who cleans up the yard, you wouldn't have a way of knowing that. And that can be a really key indicator that there is something off with your dog. So that leads me into point number 2. When you go outside to supervise your dog's potty break, and whether you're doing it on leash or off leash, but you're outside with them, you're supervising them, you're helping to reinforce those commands, you're missing valuable health check-ins if you're not with your dog. So when you are with your dog, when they are on leash, when you're out there supervising them actively, not just looking through a window, but you're actively out there supervising them, you're getting valuable health information about your dog. You're seeing how they're standing or squatting when they pee or poop. If that position suddenly changes and in a dramatic way, or maybe they start shaking while they're going to the bathroom, that could be a sign that there's something wrong with your dog. They may have injured some body part, and changing how my dog has like 4 different ways that he pees, but I know all of those. So if he were to suddenly pee in a really weird way, it would be a sign to me of, hey, maybe something's wrong with him, that he should get checked out by the vet. Your dog's pooping frequency, so how many times a day that they're pooping, the consistency of their stool, and the color all tell you health about your dog. It tells you how well they're digesting their food. It tells you if they maybe got into something that isn't good for them, if there's blood in it, if it's a really dark color, if it's super runny. All of those things are health signs. Especially if you have a really young puppy, diarrhea, very bad. Like 2 months. Really young puppy. But even in adult dogs, diarrhea still requires, call your vet, check in, change up their diet, do something different. Maybe there's something you've added to their diet recently that is causing these problems. A few years ago, I tried giving Austin fish oil to help with his dry skin and his coat. And it had hemp seed oil in it as well. And I discovered that hemp seed gives him really bad diarrhea. And I know it wasn't the fish oil because I then gave him something else that had hemp seed oil in it, and it again caused really bad diarrhea. And that's information I only had because I was out there with him watching him. We also have another dog who comes into our yard, and his poop is completely different from Austin's. But because me and his owner are both outside watching the dogs, or one of us is outside watching both dogs at the same time, we know, oh, that's Max's, or oh, that's Austin's. He's fine, or nope, he's sick, something's wrong. Additionally, if you see your dog trying or straining, but nothing's happening, that is also a sign that you should probably call your vet. The exception to that is if you've been outside for a while and your dog is just marking all of the things and they've literally run out of pee. That does happen. That's usually seen more, though, when you're outside for a while, you've been on a long walk, things like that. So if you let your dog go with a doggy door, you're missing the opportunity to get little health check-ins that can be extremely vital in knowing what's going on with your dog. The third thing, and this is why I say this post pertains more so to service dogs than pet dogs. These last 2 points pertain specifically to service dogs. The third thing is that if your dog uses a doggy door to go out for potty breaks, you may need help and they won't be there. Doggy door, or you open the back door and let them go outside, and then you close the door and go back inside and lay down. If you need help, your dog isn't there. Now, the perk of a doggy door, as opposed to just opening the back door to let your dog go out, is that if there's a doggy door and you call, your dog might hear you, or they might smell a change in your body chemistry and come inside voluntarily to help you. If you just open the back door and let them out, which is what I used to do with my childhood dog, your dog can't come back through that door, and so you effectively cut off access to you. A good medical alert dog might stay close or rush back, but if they're another purpose, like a mobility dog, they may not know you need help. Depending on if there's something better outside, like a squirrel, or maybe they found one of their chew toys outside, they may not, depending on the level of discipline and structure and work you've put in with your dog, they may decide that they hear you, but maybe I won't come back and help. Additionally, if you have a severe pain condition or another type of medical episode where you can't talk and you then can't call your dog, you need them, but you can't call them. If they'd been in the house with you, or if you had been outside with them, watching them, you would be with them. They would be able to tell that you need help based on your body language, how you're acting, or hand cues or other things like that. Depending on what the problem is, if you'd been with your dog, they may have seen it coming or smelled it coming, and they could have prevented it from happening, or they could have prevented it from getting worse. But because they were outside and you were inside, it could delay their response time, or it could make it worse for you. Additionally, some dogs use doggy doors as, I'm going to go out, I'm going to use the bathroom, I'm going to come right back in. Other dogs go out, use the bathroom, and enjoy the outside. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Your dog should absolutely be able to enjoy outside, especially as a service dog. But when you have a service dog, depending on your disability, you know your needs. But if it is a time when your dog is technically on duty, they're on duty even when they're on potty breaks. So that feels harsh to say, but there have been countless times where I am out with my dog and the plan is you're going to use bathroom. And then the CRPS says, actually, how about your legs collapse? And if Austin is actively peeing, actively pooping, or about to, then, obviously he can't help. But if maybe he was still looking for a spot or he recently got done, he's able to quickly rush over to me and help me in that moment. So technically off duty, having a potty break, getting a chance to sniff, but you suddenly need help. Your dog needs to be able and in a good position to immediately snap back into on duty to come help you. That is why you have them. The exception to that is if you have a backup, maybe there's another person home, maybe you actually have 2 service dogs, or you have another type of mobility aid that helps you get around. You're close to medication. You don't need a dog to go get medication. Your situation may be completely different from mine. But I've had enough instances where I needed him. And I needed him when I didn't think I needed him. That the idea of him being outside is unsettling. He's not just here for decoration. He's here for a very important reason. And if we're outside together, does it suck for my pain? Yeah. Is it hard on the bad days? Yeah. Does it take extra energy? Oh, yeah. Are there days where I walk outside holding onto him and then I have him take me to some place where I can lean up against a wall or a post and leave me there while he goes and uses the bathroom and then come back and collects me and then we go back inside? Absolutely. He even knows the word for it. I can ask him to take me to the bunnies. I can ask him to take me to a post. I can ask him to take me to the porch, and he takes me there, leaves me there, goes and does his thing, and then comes back and gets me, and then we go back inside. That's how I handle bad days. That is absolutely trainable. But we're still together. We're still a unit. He's able to help me when I need it. And he's getting his needs taken care of. Also, side thing, especially for CRPSers, getting up and moving, it sucks, but it's important. The more you just stay in one place and don't move, it will actually make your pain worse. It will actually increase the swelling. Moving, even a little bit, even in short bursts, is good for you. It sucks. And it's going to take a while for your body to get used to this new world order, but it does help. And it ensures that on your bad days, you still have regularly scheduled programming where you get up and you move and you walk around. Those are called your dog's potty breaks and their meal times. But they're important for your dog and they're important for you. The fourth reason applies to both service dogs and pet dogs. The emotional loss is brutal either way. But there is a difference in impact between service dogs and pet dogs. If a dog is outside in a fenced-in yard or an unfenced yard where they respect the yard boundaries. If they're outside unsupervised, they could get stolen, they could get attacked by a person or another dog or another animal if you live somewhere wild-ish. They could get let out by other people. Possibly by other dogs. I haven't seen that yet, but I wouldn't put it past them. Horses let each other out of the stalls. So I wouldn't put it past dogs to do that too. But usually it's people. Or your dog could escape. If you haven't been really firm with teaching yard boundaries with and without a fence, or teaching threshold manners with a gate, or if your dog is intact dogs can still scale 6-foot tall fences to go breed. So do not underestimate your dog. Also, dogs can jump ridiculously high. And even if they can't jump all the way, they can jump most of the way and then grab purchase and climb the rest of the way. So a fence is not a guarantee of anything. Certain breeds are valuable. Whether that's being stolen and resold black market, or being stolen and bred, being stolen and put in fight rings. You never really know why people steal dogs, but it happens. And there seem to be trends of like what breed is the most popular and what breed is the hottest right now, and so those dogs are sometimes more at risk of being stolen. But also, mutts are at risk of being stolen. You can never really be 100% sure that somebody isn't going to try and steal your dog. But certain breeds are more valuable than others for various reasons. Sometimes kids, mostly kids, but also sometimes adults, will open gates to pet a dog. When I was a teenager, I used to let my dog out all the time. I didn't think anything of it. She wasn't really one for fetch. She just liked running. So I used to let her out of the back door and give her like 10 to 20 minutes outside by herself to run around, sniff, go to the bathroom, whatever. I loved my dog. I loved spending time with her. But also it felt like a way to give her her time and a way to give her a break from me. And I also didn't think much past it. We had a fenced-in yard, and furthermore, we had a fenced-in yard down a driveway. It wasn't a long driveway, but it was still down a driveway. And she was a jumper, but she'd never tried to jump out of our fence before. I'd never seen her jump a height of the fence that we had, only if there were things that she could climb on and then jump over. And we kept things away from the fence. So I thought she was fine. We had a fence down a driveway. I thought it was fine. And it was fine. It was fine every day for most of her life. Until the day it wasn't fine. I left her outside. I was a teenager. I left her outside, and she was in the fence. She had a collar on. We lived in kind of part town, part suburbia. And she'd been outside for about 10 minutes, so I went back outside to go get her. And she was gone. I couldn't find her anywhere. And I was screaming her name. And I did not take the time to teach a reliable recall. So, one, that. Um, but she knew come. I had taught it, I just didn't teach it to the same level that I teach dogs now because I know different things now. I have different information than what I had when I was a teenager. And I was looking everywhere in the yard. Like maybe she was hiding. She's a white dog, so she would have stood out. But she was, 20, 30 pound dog. So she could have been hiding underneath something or exploring a different part of the yard. And I scoured everything. And then I saw that the gate was open. And nobody was there. I was home alone. My dad was at work. And he worked close. So like when I saw that she was missing, I was able to call him. And he came home to help me look. Sorry, I had to reposition my angry legs. But there was nobody there. So it wasn't like I found a stranger petting my dog or I found a kid petting my dog. But we did have the kind of fence latch that we knew Jess couldn't have done. A person had to have done it. And, I'd been somewhere else in the house. I hadn't been watching her out a window. I had been doing my own thing. I thought I was doing the right thing by giving her space and giving her freedom to run and explore and a break from being told what to do. And she was gone. Somebody opened that gate and we never found out who. But somebody opened that gate and I don't know what happened. I don't know if someone tried to pet her. I don't know if someone saw her trapped and decided to free her. She wasn't on a tie out. She was free in our backyard to roam around as she pleased. I don't know if someone, meant to pet her, but she saw the open gate and was just like, freedom, bye, and took off. I have no idea. But as soon as I saw the gate was open, I immediately, I remember being so scared because this dog meant the world to me. I loved her so much. She was more than just a dog for me. She was my mom got sick with ovarian cancer when I was really little, and she passed away when I was 10. And we got Jess when I was 9. And Jess was, my parents had been resisting getting me a dog for a long time because they didn't think I was responsible enough. And they were sort of right, but also I wasn't given the correct information about training a dog and doing it right and responsibly, like I know now. I was given the cookie cutter pet dog information, which misses a lot of crucial stuff that leads to a lot of really big problems and leads to a lot of heartache. And I wish dog owners were given better information, but they're just not. And it's not even necessarily their fault. It's just there's a lot of misconceptions and cookie cutter information out there that doesn't necessarily apply to everybody. But anyways, I didn't have all the information. I didn't train her right. I didn't train her well enough. I didn't train her with enough consistency or enough structure or enough authority. And she was definitely in charge. But I got her when I was 9, which was part of it. Um, but my parents relented on letting me get a dog because they didn't tell us at the time. But they knew. They knew that my mom was going to die soon. And they wanted me to have a friend. So they got me this dog. And so she had, not only was she my friend, but she had this exceptionally high emotional attachment, which was both good and bad. um that's a different post. Why emotions can interfere with training. But she had an extremely high emotional attachment to her. And so, that last year that I had with my mom also spent a lot of time with Jess. And I'm pretty sure Jess could tell something was wrong with her because she liked to snuggle with her a lot and would actually like lay on her chest and put her head up by my mom's head. And my mom and my dad were the only people she took seriously. She did not take me seriously at all. But, sure enough, when my mom passed away, my human friends didn't know what to say. And Jess didn't have to know what to say. She could just be there. And she was an immense comfort because I could talk to her and I could hang out with her and I could feel like I still had a piece of my mom with me. And I didn't feel as alone in the world. And also, Jess couldn't say hurtful things. People say all sorts of hurtful things because they don't know what to say and accidentally stumble on the exact wrong thing to say when your mom dies. So when I thought I lost Jess because the gate had been open and she escaped, all sorts of emotions were flooding through me. I was terrified she was going to get hit by a car. We were in a relatively high traffic area. Like where we lived was moderate traffic, but you go just a little bit forward and to the right and suddenly you're in very high traffic. And I was terrified that this precious link, this precious friendship that I had was gone and that I would never find her again. And I remember screaming her name at the top of my lungs until my voice was raspy. And I searched our front yard. I searched the backyard again. I searched our neighbor's yard. I searched the neighborhood. I started walking. I wasn't sure where she would go. My dad came home. We checked the park. And he ended up finding her 5 miles away at a park that he sometimes would walk her at. So there was a park in one direction where I would usually go, and then there was a park in a different direction towards all the really high traffic areas. But that's someplace where he used to walk her. And that's where he found her. That's where we found her together. And she was she was fine. Didn't have a scratch on her. Didn't get hit by a car. Totally fine. Still had her tags on. She was just enjoying the park, sniffing around. And when she saw us, she was like, oh my gosh, my people, and ran to us. And it was fine. And we took her home. And, for a while, I was really good about going outside with her every time. And then the shock of that day wore off. And what ended up happening was we added a lock to the gate so that people couldn't just open it. But we went back to our old ways. We would just open the back door to let Jess out, and whenever she wanted to come back in, she'd scratch on the door or bark. And we went back into that habit, and that day brings up a lot of emotions for me, and I feel ashamed that that's how I interacted with a dog that I held so dearly. Because that day could have ended very differently. And now I cannot imagine doing that with a service dog. Pet dog, enormous emotional attachment. Service dog, life-saving medical device, who we have put years into training and a lot of money into training and upkeep and care, who, if I suddenly lose, if anyone suddenly loses their service dog, it is worse than a bad day. It is shattering to your existence and your ability to function and your quality of life, your pain levels, your ability to function with your disability, especially if you don't have a backup aid. And even if you do have a backup aid, there are certain benefits that a service dog brings to the mitigation of your disability that can't be replaced. And that service dog, technically, yes, you can train a new service dog. You can sign up for a new service dog from a program, but that takes time. And in that time, you will be drowning and floundering without that assistance. And if it came from because you didn't want to go outside and supervise their potty break, I can't even imagine that. At the time, I didn't learn from the mistake I made with Jess. But when I learned more about training, and when I learned more about how to have a full life with my dog, and when I started relying on a dog's assistance with my disability, that is not going to happen again. That day was terrifying, and it was also a mistake, and it was also my fault. Yes, somebody else opened the gate. Somebody else let her out. But it was my fault for not being there to supervise her, to not stop that from happening. It was my fault for not teaching Jess to not leave the yard under any circumstances. That day is on me. And I know that now. I didn't know it back then. I didn't accept it back then. But now I know it's on me. And I am not about to let that happen to a service dog. Or any future pet, but especially a service dog. And so as many service dog teams as I can have this conversation with, I want to have this conversation, because we do take them for granted. We take safety for granted. We get relaxed with it. It is easier to use a doggy door, but that doesn't mean it's better. That doesn't mean it's safer. Even if your dog doesn't get stolen, they don't escape, and they aren't let out by someone, bad things can still happen. Another incident that can happen, doesn't happen often, but it can happen, is your dog getting attacked by another dog who scales the fence, jumps the fence, whatever. Or depending on what kind of fence you have, maybe they're able to grab your dog through the fence. There are articles and stories about dogs being shot. I'm not trying to say that that's a for sure thing. Sometimes it's breed based, but it is a thing that has happened. Sometimes people suck. If you're out there supervising them, is it a guarantee that nothing bad is going to happen? No. But if you're out there supervising your dog, you're out there witnessing things, and you're a deterrent for people messing with your dog. You can see if another dog is coming for your fence. You can recall your dog, get them inside safely. It's anytime your dog is outside, there's no guarantee that they're 100% safe, even if you're out there with them, even if they're on leash, even if you're supervising them, even if you're watching them like a hawk. You're still going to miss stuff. Accidents are going to happen, and things are going to slip through the cracks. But your odds of having a safer dog and still having your dog are better if you are out there with them, if you do supervise their playtime, if they do have a way to get back to you quickly, and if you have put in the time and the work to teach them not to walk through an open gate just because the gate's open, not to jump over your fence, not to scale your fence, teach them yard boundaries. If you have a fenced in yard, I recommend teaching the dog that they can't get within 1 to 2 feet of the fence. So you create an extra invisible fence. We don't have a fenced yard where we live. So I teach my dogs to respect an imaginary fence that I build in my mind and then create for them. And I teach it to them by walking it with them multiple times when we first start training the dog or training the new area. We're building a new house. Just started teaching the new yard boundary to Austin. Already doing a really good job with it. We've only walked it 4 times. A finished service dog. I want to be really careful how I say this. This might ruffle some feathers either way, but any dog is precious. Any dog is a member of the family who we cherish and we love. And they feel irreplaceable. And much like a good friend, you're never going to replace a good dog. Not really. You know, they're always going to be, you can have a new dog, but that dog fills a different space in your heart. No dog is disposable. I want to be really clear on that. No dog is disposable. No dog is without value. But a finished service dog who is working and who knows tasks for mitigating your disability, please put that at a higher level of respect. A finished service dog is not just a dog. It's your lifeline. Please don't be cavalier with them. Please don't assume it'll be okay. I have heard so many stories about service dogs escaping, not knowing doorway manners, not knowing to stay in your yard, not coming back when you call them. That's from a lack of training. And it's also from a lack of education, because owners aren't being given the right information about how to train your dog properly. And especially disabled owners. They aren't being worked with as much as healthy owners are. So they're being given the same information that healthy owners are, but maybe they can't apply it. Maybe you don't know how to change it or adapt it for your disability in a way that makes it easier for you to do or reliable for you to reinforce the dog's training in a way that works for your disability. We know that's happening with other things. People with disabilities are constantly being given able-bodied PT exercises with no instructions on how to adapt them to make it work or doable. The same goes for dog training. But this is one thing you can do. Instead of using your doggy door, you can start taking your dog out on leash for potty breaks. It keeps them safer. It keeps you safer. It helps you know if they actually went to the bathroom or not, which is vital information for future public access, working out on a treadmill, just being in your house, period. And it also gives you valuable insight into your dog's health and if something might be up that you need to talk to your vet about. Doggy doors are a great idea and concept. But a final thing to keep in mind that a lot of people don't realize is that dogs are really smart. They're also manipulative. And they might not be manipulative in the same way that people are, but like they don't necessarily come at it from a malicious standpoint the way people do. But dogs are really smart. They are awesome at making connections. And they learn, whether it be bells that they ring and then you open the door and let them outside and unsupervise them, or a doggy door that they can just go in and out of. They learn that this magical hole in the wall, or bells, are a way to go outside and to smell things and chase birds and do things that you would normally correct them for and discourage. But because you're not there, they get to do it. And because you're not there, they get to practice it. And that behavior stays. Then you go to correct it. And you're like, why is this still here? It's because it's happening and you're not aware of it. They learn, I can go outside. I can lay in the sun. I can roll in the grass. I can roll in the smelly things that I find in the yard. I can just go outside. I don't have to have a reason to go outside. I can just go outside. Because this door is here and I can use it whenever I want. Or these bells mean that if I ring this bell, it will summon my human to open the door for me, to let me into the great outdoors. And then I can ring another bell and it will summon my human to open the door for me, to let me back inside. And I can do this as many times as I want during the day to get what I want. You see similar things when dogs learn that if they shake, they get a treat. Cool trick. A lot of people don't realize what that leads to is the dog offers a shake and the person goes, oh, that's so cute, here's a treat. And then the dog offers a shake and you don't notice it. And so then the dog hits you and you go, oh, you're trying a shake, that's so cute, here's a treat. You've now taught your dog that beating you gets them treats. They're going to keep doing that. Same thing applies for doggy doors, ringing the bells. Dogs are really smart. They make associations and then they repeat that thing to get the thing that they want. This is why training works. But there are plenty of times where your dog can learn to train you. It's not done out of malice. It's done because they want something and they figured out how to get it. So that is another important thing to keep in mind about doggy doors and doorbells. I understand that doggy doors can be helpful, but in my opinion, both as a dog owner who has lost a dog and currently relies on extremely well-trained professional dogs, and in my expert opinion as a professional trainer, doggy doors are a bad idea. There is too much that is going unseen and that is rapidly out of your control. I recommend instead doing potty breaks and playtime on leash until your dog's trained, and then off leash, but always supervised. Stay with your dog. It's good for you, and it's good for them. It's good for everybody. Even on the days when it sucks and it feels impossible. Thank you for watching and listening. If you have questions about this, please leave a comment. And again, there will be an accompanying blog post on this as well.